What's up YouTube? Today I want to demystify a plugin called Ryder. I'm sure you folks know it. It is one of the most widely used plugins in electronic dance music. I think partly because it's free, but also partly because it's really freaking good. But I want to kind of draw some parallels between this plugin and a plugin that I recently did a kind of demystification video on. And I think it's pretty interesting. Anyway, let's dive in and have a look. So again, this is one of those plugins that you see in so many YouTube videos. It's a great plugin, people recommend it, and for good reason. But a lot of the time people just say, it makes stuff wider, bruh. They don't tell you what it does, and there's a shroud of mystery around what it actually does. I think the most in-depth explanation I've seen is that it's a all-pass filter, much like we've seen with Disperser. And interestingly enough, the plugin itself is not far from what Disperser actually is. I kind of want to show you why I think so. So if we just have a look at Plugin Doctor, again, we're going to Plugin Doctor so I can show you exactly what this plugin does. It's a great tool for being able to visualize exactly what's happening, both with the frequency and the phase of your sound. So if we engage the plugin by turning up this wider knob over here, let's say up to 100%. And one thing to take into account here that's different to what we saw in the previous video is that there is a difference between the left and the right channels. So I forget which one is which, but pink represents the one side and blue represents the other side of your stereo spectrum. And as you can see here, as you increase the plugin, it basically just, let's say, applies an all-pass filter to the sound. And the all-pass filters are tuned differently for the left and the right channels, which I think is what obviously gives it that very distinct wide sound. So if we have a look at the phase graph over here, some of you may recognize this pattern that we're seeing over here. So what I want to do is I want to open up an instance of Snap Heap on the second bus of Plugin Doctor. And over here, I want to put in Disperser. So I just want to tune these settings up a little bit over here. We want to turn the amounts down somewhat. And you can already see that these kind of shapes that we're seeing here are kind of similar to the shapes. Okay, well, obviously we've got this volume difference, but let's just play around with these settings a little bit till we get something that looks similar to what we see there. So we're going to want quite a high frequency, and we want to set this almost all the way, but let's just see if we can get it close here. So something that I just realized is we're going to need to pan these individually left and right. So let's put in a stereo module over here, pan this, let's set up a parallel channel, and then let's pan this one right, and then we can put another disperser over here, and we can tune this frequency slightly. Okay, so now we can actually see what color is what. If we decrease the mix, the overall mix of Snap Heap, you can see we're starting to get a little bit closer in terms of like the amplitude of the sound. And here's something a little bit interesting. When we go from 0 to 100 in Ryder, it does a certain parameter. And then from 100 and upwards, it does a different parameter. So this is how it gets that distinctly like even wider sound, like wider than what kind of sounds natural, is because it starts to accentuate the all-pass filters by tuning up the amounts after that 100% sweep. So let's just kind of get this a little bit closer to what we see in the pattern here. So something that's a bit easier is to actually just remove the one and then tune it and then put it back in, tune it and put it back in. So this is a bit finicky, and I mean, there's no point in remaking this exactly to the phase. Let's just tune this up a little bit here. Mix. Okay, so I think I know what's happening. You see it's got this distinct kind of curve along the top here as well. What we're going to want to do there is create a filter, tune it up like this, and then just turn the Q down like this. And then we can even mix this channel out so that we match that curve on the high frequencies. Do you see that? So essentially, we're just like rebuilding this phase response using other plugins. So again, like I said, this is a kind of pointless technique in terms of you don't really need to do this because Ryder exists and it's free and it's a great plugin and you should just get it. But I find like doing these kinds of exercises really helps you to understand what's happening behind the screen, you know, what's happening inside the box. We can't quite go that low, right? Because there's that kind of frequency limit of 20 hertz, but you won't hear what's happening there anyway. So I've actually figured out to get the exact curve, you want a really high frequency on this side with a full amount. I think it's 0 pinch, somewhere around here. And then a 1 amount disperser on the lowest frequency. So then here on the other channel, let's just duplicate the stack and we can tune this one slightly down like this. Or it's actually slightly up in this case. So now essentially what we've done is we've recreated the 100% amount, right? So what we can do is we can actually create a macro here that's going to sweep from 0 to 50%. We'll emulate the 0 to 100% here. So that's going to do the mix. You see how it's got that, if we go up to about 50%, okay, no, it's not 50, it's 41%. So let's say 41% from 0 to 50% on the sweep. So it's going to do that. There we go. Nice, nice. And then the rest of the sweep, let's create another remap and let's set the shape of the remap down like this. And then the rest of the sweep is going to boost this amount over here at the bottom, like that. Okay, maybe not that drastic, but let's just see what happens in Ryder when we boost that amount. See, it's actually not that drastic. I think maybe just like 1 or 2 more band passes in the amount. So in fact, if we have these at roughly the same, we can actually go here and punch the exact amount. So let's say till 2. Anyway, that's enough silly scientific explanations that don't make too much difference to your overall music production. What I want to do is I want to make a quick example of what this thing actually sounds like. So let's just group everything except the kick and bass. So that's percussion, synth, sound effects, everything into a group. And I want to show you my my Ryder remake. So let's just turn this one off for now. And here I've actually pre-baked a preset. So this is basically like the left in one side and the right in the other side. As you can see, like I'm very, very particular as to, so it's the frequency, it wasn't the amount, silly me. Okay, anyway, you get the picture. So it's left and right in single snap heaps to just make it a little bit easier for myself to kind of do one by one. And then, yeah, let's see what this sounds like. Okay, in retrospect, I think Ryder does something when it's at 0%. It sounds like it folds things down to mono. So I might not have cracked it exactly, but you guys get the picture. It's basically disperser on the left, disperser on the right, to boil it down to a very quick explanation. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, if you haven't yet, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.